All right, good morning, everybody, and welcome to the final webinar for eVP procurement users. My name is Jeff. I'm with North Carolina eProcurement. I'm going to be joined by Zach, who's going to take over in the latter part of this training. And we welcome everybody here. So first of all, just want to make a disclaimer that this is a Teams live session, meaning that it is being recorded. So if you do not consent to being included in this recording, this would be a good time for you to leave the session. It is being recorded, which is a good thing because then we can make it available to you. So if you do not want to be a part of this right now, we will show you later on and send out an email when this recording is ready to go where you can watch it. So a little bit more logistics now. Want to just be clear about who the intended audience for this webinar is, and that would be procurement users who currently post and manage their solicitations via IPS and NC bids. So it's primarily community college users, university users, school districts, local governments. If you're a state agency employee that uses NCE procurement sourcing to manage your solicitations, obviously you also post that in IPS, but the actual management of your solicitations, NC procurement sourcing, this is not a session for you. We've actually had 2 of those sessions before, and we've got recordings of those sessions that are available on our website. If you stick around through the beginning of this, I will show you where those are, but we are not going to be covering the e-procurement sourcing tool here. This is just for people who currently start their solicitations in IPS and manage them in NC bid. So you are welcome to stick around, but not all the information is going to be applicable to the way that you manage your solicitation. So for those of you that are currently, or for the next day and a half or so, using IPS and NC bids, this is for you. Now you will see, as this is a Teams live session, that there's no way to kind of come off of mute. You're just all going to watch, but there is a Q&A icon in the top right, maybe next to the leave button. Don't click leave, but if you do click on that Q&A icon, I believe we've already put a greeting in there, but that is where you can ask questions, and we encourage you to do so throughout. We've got Lauren, Afua, and Amanda from our team that are monitoring that Q&A, and we'll be responding to you. So a couple things. When you ask your question, I think there's 2 fields. There's the field for you to ask your question. There's a field for you to put in a name, and we would request, if you can, to please put in just a name that we can identify you if we have to go back and forth with you. Otherwise, we get dozens of anonymous questions in there, and it's difficult to determine which person asked what, and there might be times where we need to ask a clarifying question to you to give you a better answer. And if we can more easily see who's asking the question, we can do that better. So put in a name if you can, ask your questions. Also know that because it's a Teams live session, it's on a little bit of a delay. So we're actually probably about a minute ahead of you in recording this for when you see it. You get it on a bit of a delay. So if you ask a question that is not super specific and we have moved on, we may not know exactly what you were asking about. So when you ask your question, if you could just include a little bit of a detail of exactly what part of the presentation you're asking your question about, that would be great too. So we will, when we get these questions, some of them we may respond directly back to you. Some of them we may think, oh, these are great questions that multiple people are asking, and we're going to publish that so everyone can see it. Others of them, we may stop. We're going to build in times to answer questions in the presentation. And so we may stop and answer those verbally. And then others, just because of the volume of questions we have, we may not get absolutely everything answered during this webinar. However, we are taking down all the questions and writing answers to them and publishing the Q&A afterwards. And we'll show you where those are here in a minute for the previous sessions we've done. And so in a near future, you will have all of the answers to all of your questions in a written format for you. So that is a little bit of the logistics to get going. And so we are going to get going now. This is what we want to cover today. We've got about 90 minutes. And first of all, what we're going to do is provide an overview of what we're calling the new eVP. So we're going to give you some background on the project as a whole and the transition timing and how it impacts you. Then what we're going to do is we are going to introduce the backend eVP, which is your version of that. There's going to be a vendor's version and your version, and you guys are going to be calling it the agency app. So we're going to give you a walkthrough of navigating the screen, the home screen when you get there, and different parts of that. And then we're going to get into some good demos that are going to cover the meat of what we're going to do. That would be creating a solicitation in this new system, something that you've got to post publicly. Then we are going to show what it looks like to view that from the vendor's point of view in the public eVP. Then we are going to look at what happens when people respond. So we're going to say, okay, so they've responded, and how are we going to manage the bids that came in? And we're going to take that information and we're going to post our bid tabulations. First, a preliminary bid tabulation that doesn't have pricing included, and then a final bid tabulation that is going to show you how to add some pricing. Then we're going to talk about posting award notifications. So we're going to go through the whole process. We're going to cover addendums in there too, but from creating all the way to awarding a solicitation. I'm going to turn it over to Zach, and Zach's going to talk about contract extensions and how that's going to work when we need to post notice of those in the system, and then talk about how you're going to continue to use the public eVP for a vendor search. And then other searches in that before getting into hub reporting. Now, the hub reporting part may not apply to absolutely everybody in this session. There's only certain people that do hub reporting, but hub reporting is going to be part of your new agency app. So for those of you that do hub reporting, you could stick around for that. And then we'll just wrap up with just some next steps and a wrap up. So that is what we want to get through today. And now let's just go over and kind of give you a background of what this upgrade project was and what the new eVP is here. So you can see a couple of little icons and descriptions of what it is, but at its most basic level, what it is we are merging the current versions of IPS and NC bids with the electronic vendor portal, or eVP. So IPS, as you know, is how state procurement users currently post and manage your formal solicitations. And eVP is where vendors currently register their companies to do business with the state of North Carolina. So we are merging these two into one new supersized eVP, and there's two sides of it. Your brand new side, the agency app, and the vendor's upgraded side, which is public eVP. So they're kind of building on an existing functionality and getting a better version, and you're kind of being brought in, and we're giving you a whole new version of this eVP. So, and because everything is getting pushed together and this relationship is getting closer, so many aspects of kind of the state and vendor combination are going to improve here. So now a little bit of technical stuff. Just want to make sure you are aware that this new platform is going to the Microsoft cloud. So IPS has served the state for many years and has done a very good job, but it's an older technology. It is less adaptable and has less ability to manage more amounts of data. Going to the cloud is going to make it much more flexible and will allow for more information to be included, bigger file sizes, and allow for that information to stay up on, and searchable and visible for a lot longer. So that is a really nice thing about moving from an older technology to a newer technology that is on the cloud. So you can expect just some improvements in data capacity and how long things stay up there, which is going to be a great benefit for both sides. So that is a little bit about what the overall upgrade is, and we're merging IPS and eVP into one supersized, and this next slide is going to kind of give you a visual depiction of that. So here's our new supersized eVP right now. We've got the public, the vendor side, and then the state user buying side. They're all going to be together. So let me just highlight over here really quickly. This is the left side. This is the public eVP, and vendors are still there. So they're still going to come and manage their vendor registration. they are, or register new, manage their existing registration, and everybody that has a current vendor account is being brought over automatically into the new system. So vendors don't need to re-register if they're already registered in the system, which is a nice thing. They can also now, in a much more efficient and totally online way, if they want to get certified as Hub or NCSBE vendors, that part of the process is now much better for them, and we'll talk about later, but the Hub office is now included in the app as well. And then the last thing that is going to be better for the vendors is, you guys are being brought in over here to do your bid postings, and they are going to get their notifications and be able to submit their bid responses in the same app. So previously, they would manage their vendor account here, but then they'd have to go to another site for bid stuff, IPS. Now, the IPS is their same app. So the same place where they're managing their vendor account, they're also getting notified about bids and being able to respond to the bids that you post. So that is a really nice thing for them. So this is the benefit there of everything kind of going into one app for them. So that's the vendor side. And then there's also literally a public aspect to this where you can still come and access the vendor database and do a public search if there's specific information about certain vendors you want to find. Zach's going to show you how that's going to work. I'm also going to show you on your agency app, there is now, because we're connected here, there's a vendor search on your kind of back end. So you can figure out whether you like to go to the public side or search within your agency app. We're going to show you both of those today, and that will be your preference going forward. And then as well, obviously, vendors can sign in to respond to their bids, but there's also just the public and anybody, whether you're a registered vendor or not, and this includes you, can go in and make sure that you can see how the bids are posted. So that is kind of the existing eVP that is getting upgraded because of the inclusion of the buying community here. That's on the left side, and on the right side, the back end, this is where we're going to focus today. And so you guys are obviously boxed off here. You will use the agency app. You're the state procurement users. But there's also an admin app for DOA/PNC. They're going to have a little bit more administrative ability in the app that can do a couple things with vendor accounts and just in general overview. As well, the Hub office is being brought in here. They're going to have what's called the Hub app. And the whole back end, the apps are very, very similar. It's just different screens that certain users can see that apply to them and different actions that they can take. But now we get PNC involved, and they can manage vendor accounts and see some different type of reporting data, which is going to be helpful for them, as well as the Hub user. They will have the ability to now much more quickly and more efficiently and with much more transparency to the vendors manage a Hub certification from start to finish, and the vendors can kind of see where that is. And this is all going to be online, which is going to be very, very helpful for the Hub office to kind of upgrade the way that they do things. And then because the vendors are in the system now, there's going to be a lot of automated data that's going to help with Hub reporting. So that is going to be helpful, and we'll show you that at the end. So that's what these users are going to do. And here's now what you are going to do. So just like you did in IPS, and then the NC bids part of that to manage the electronic part, you guys will be creating your solicitations in the new upgraded eVP system via the agency app. And when you get responses there, so you can, if you opt to receive electronic responses through eBid, you can still, there's still the paper option, so you can tell vendors that you need to receive your bids in a different way, via an actual envelope. So that will still be available, but you will be able to manage those responses via this system, the same system, and then through this system then and via the connected vendor database, you'll be able to then post your tabulations and then post your awards. So all of that will be included in one solicitation post that just grows over time, including the addendums, including all the attachments, which is great. And then that's going to live on the system for perpetuity, which is really nice. It's not going to disappear as soon as it's not an active thing to where you needed to know the bid number to find it. Obviously, knowing the bid number is always going to be helpful to find things, but it is going to live on. And then the award will not disappear after 90 days. That's because of the flexibility of the cloud software. So you can, 2 years from now, someone can find out, well, who won this? And where was the solicitation document? All that stuff is going to live there. That's really going to help everybody else. Contract extension posting, if that's something you need to do, and then hub files. So we think you're really going to like the much more agile technology here moving on over, and it's pretty simplified process of you'll see, you'll click new, you'll add words, you'll add dates, you'll add documents, you'll click post, and it'll be out there. So that is kind of an overview that we're going to get into the details and show you step by step how to do that. But that is what we have here. Now, the last thing I want to talk about before we move on into actually showing you what the system looks like is this transition timing. And we are here, right? We are on July 6th, and we've been doing these webinars from, I think June 20th or so was the first one. So this this slide was more impactful at that point, but you are past the date where you can post anything new in IPS. So anything that you have out there, it was already posted. You cannot post a new solicitation until Monday. The new system goes live Monday. So you guys are really close. And at that point, you can post a new solicitation if you need to. So that's great. So we'll talk about that, but you're past the date here. The last day for vendors to respond, if you had a due date of July 7th, then through tomorrow, vendors can respond in IPS, and so you can kind of have completed IPS solicitations out there. Then we will be taking a pause in bid openings, and if you've tried to post something over the last month or so and have a bid opening in this window between the 8th and the 16th, you've not been able to. So maybe you have something out there and the bid opening, it's in IPS. The bid opening is currently sometime after July 17th. What's going to happen is over this next week and starting on Monday, these will be transferred over into the new system. So you've started your solicitation in IPS. It is then going to be automatically converted for you into the new system because that's where people are going to have to respond. So if you have any questions, confusions on that, on any specific one that you have, you can feel free to contact the help desk. But essentially at this point, you've probably done everything you need to do. And if there's a new solicitation that you are working on with, say, PNC or DIT to get posted in the next week or anytime after that, we know that solicitations don't happen overnight. There's a several week process sometimes to building out your documents and getting the approvals. But you will be transitioning over into this new system. It will be posted there for the future. And I think that is going to be great for you. So that is the kind of the timing of this. And again, if you have specific questions about one of your solicitations that is out there that kind of falls somewhere across these dates, or just anytime going forward, get in touch with our help desk and we can talk about specific situations for you. Now, the last thing we'll mention about current IPS, it is going to stay open until October of this year. Some point in October, you will search for IPS on the internet and it will not exist anymore. But until October, it will. And what that is going to allow you to do, so for anything that was put out for bid and you got your responses by July 7th, whether that's before that or on actually July 7th, that's going to stay open so that you can post tabulations and awards. And if you get those in by August and they are up there for the 60 days through October, then at that point, it is going to disappear and everything going forward will be in this system. So hopefully that all makes sense to everybody. But again, any specific questions regarding something here, get in touch with our help desk and we will help you out. So, Lauren, is there anything before we move on to kind of the basic navigation in the system, which is what this is going to look like? Any questions that we want to address in the presentation?
There are no questions thus far.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much. What we are going to do now is we're going to show you what the agency app looks like. I'm going to take you on a little bit of a tour of that. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to escape out of this PowerPoint and go over into the internet. And we've got a test environment up for you there. But before I do that, I want to make sure that everyone here is aware of the eProcurement website. This is eprocurement.nc.gov. Hopefully you are aware of that, whether it be for logging in. You see buyer login. If you're someone that uses eProcurement for purchase orders, you would have that there. We've also got lots of other stuff. I just want to make sure that you're aware of all of the support we can offer you, because for solicitations, when you were posting an IPS, the eProcurement office, which is what I represent, we didn't really have as much, not control over, but as much visibility and support resources if you were posting in IPS and receiving bids via NC bids. That was PNC was the support for that, and obviously we support PNC underneath them, but our help desk couldn't troubleshoot to the very specific details. But now we can. This is coming much more closely under the eProcurement umbrella, and want to make sure that you're aware that if you have questions about that, we have a lot more resources now at our office, not just helping you out with purchase orders, but also helping you out with the new eVP agency app. So this is our site here. We've got some things here. As I scroll down, you've got these tabs here. There is public vendor search. Starting on Monday, when you click this, it'll take you to the new public vendor search. Vendors will get redirected to their new login. Your buyer login will be the same. I believe we're going to have another tab on here that will take you to the new eVP URL where you're going to log in. You'll all receive emails as well inviting you to log in for the first time, but you can always come back to the eProcurement site and there will be a kind of a door to access that. So that's not changing, or that will be changing for you, your access point to that, and it will be included in the eProcurement site. A couple other things up here, just want to make sure you're aware. Training and things are under construction as we transfer into Monday, but you'll see here, you've seen our buyer training. That's where you would have done your purchase order stuff if that's something you do. But now what we've added is this eVP state procurement user training, and this is going to be applicable to your use of the system. So if you click here and open it up, it's under construction, but we are going to get it finalized by Monday. But we've already got some good information up here. So posting solicitations in the eVP agency app, that is what we're going to cover today. And if you click on this, and we're going to add some videos to this as well. Those are our final touches here, but we've got some information just on how to use the system. And if you click on these, open the job aids. If you've never seen our job aids before, we'll click on it and it brings up a, this is a PDF, detailed PDF scrolling down of what the new system is like, and click new and fill out these forms. And so we've got some really good documentation for you here, and we're going to cover all this in a minute, but this is what our job aids look like if you've never seen them. So be aware that you do now have that option. I'm going to close out of here and come back here. It is under the training and eVP state procurement. Also news and events, eVP upgrade buyers. So this is where, and let me click on that. You've got the webinar links, but here, this will then probably shift to being the main focus of this page here. If you click on eVP webinars, we've got our Q&As from the previous ones up there and a recording. So when we finalize the Q&A for this session today, it will be posted here as well. But you can follow along to all the questions that have been asked over our 3 sessions. And we've got videos here if you want to come back and look at that. So that is, and you are state procurement users, you will not look at the NCEP sourcing users when they're going to use the system a little bit differently. But that is there. And then finally, contact, if you weren't aware, our help desk, 888-211-7440. This says sourcing or contract. That'll probably be updated to solicitations by Monday to cover everything. But option 3 here, from 7:30 to 5 Monday through Friday, get in touch with our help desk and we can help you with the system as well. There is an email that you can send stuff to. And if you're working with vendors and they're having trouble, we've got support for them too. So they would just choose option 2 as well as a different vendor thing. So we are going to continue the support that we have provided, but now we are bringing in a little bit more support for using the system to post solicitations for folks that have used the system like you have been and will be doing. So that is just a little bit about what we have. And again, that is eprocurement.nc.gov, and do not hesitate to get in touch with us for help on all this stuff. So that was that. Now let me go and show you what the agency app dashboard looks like and get into how we're going to use the system. So this you see up here, agency app, we're in a training environment for today. So it's not, there'll be a little weird data in here, but you will get a good feel of this. So when I come here, this is what it looks like. It says dashboards. If I click on home, it's basically dashboards. And there's some nice graphics here. As I scroll down, you'll see more solicitations under review. That means they're pending selection, and we'll get into the statuses. That means, hey, we got our bids back. Now we need to figure out who won. But this dashboard, you may or may not find it helpful to you. It's going to include everything within your agency, which is a nice thing about the visibility. So when we get into solicitations down here, which we will in a second, you'll see it defaults to my solicitation. So if you are a user from your agency and you create solicitations, then you will see yours by default. But there is visibility to all of the other users in your agency. So say you work at a community college and there's 3 people that post solicitations in your community college, you will default to see your stuff first, but you'll also see all there. So there's good transparency and visibility for what the solicitations that everybody in your agency has created. So that's really nice in a kind of a crossover. If you need to support someone that may be out at a certain time, you do have that visibility and flexibility to work on other solicitations, not just your own. So that's what you'll see here. And that's where your default is. Now, recent, I think this is going to be helpful. So if you're working on a couple solicitations bouncing back and forth, you don't need to search for them every single time. The recent ones you've looked at will show up here. So I think that you guys will find that this is going to be helpful for you. And then even more specific to recent is pinned. And what you can do is I have one thing pinned here. This is a janitorial services solicitation that is open. If you're working on 1 or 2 and it's not even in recent, this is the one I want to find right away, you pin it. And now if I click on this pinned one, I'm going to go to, this is an example of a solicitation that is currently open through July 12th. And so I can just go back and forth. I can find this right away. And then when I'm done with it, I can say, you know what, let me unpin it. I won't do that now, but so I think that's going to be helpful for you. So just be aware that the last thing you clicked on, now if I go back to recent, it's up at the top. And then if you want to make it so you can see it often and frequently, pinned is going to be helpful. We're going to skip the dashboards because I don't think that is really going to be too applicable to you. But now we're going to come down to vendor management. So there's 3 other sections here that I think are going to be helpful. We will go through them briefly, but first, vendors. So this is your access to the vendor database. So because now we have joined up with the vendor database eVP, you now have access to searching for vendors on the back end. And what that is, so these are all the vendors in the system. It's our test environment. So we've got some weird data in here that you wouldn't, there would be in the real system. You will see all these addresses and all of that filled out. So it's not quite as full as it will be when you get logged into the system for real, but this is all the vendors, which is great. And you've got a search up here that is going to help you find, if you want to find a specific vendor, and there's so many different filters that you can search for. Let me just point out here, this search bar up at the top is kind of it's a meta search of the entire site. So if you want to type in a search term, it will pull back the entire site and see if you match up. If you get a search box within a specific window, wherever you are, that will just search this page. So if I come here, I'm using asterisk because I think asterisks get me more detail, and click search. That's just going to search within this page, which is currently all the active vendors. And you'll see here, I put janitor. We're looking for janitorial services. And so it makes sense that all of these vendors here that are coming up have janitor in the name. I look at Amaze Clean, it would make sense that maybe they do some janitorial work. But if I click on that, I'm like, this is clicking on any vendor for the details. You will see you get these various tabs and the summary tab and the contacts and location. So all the things you're used to seeing just kind of displayed vertically in the public search, now they're kind of horizontally across, and you've got some really nice information here. What this did was this Amaze Clean janitorial. So this is a powerful search. It found the website, and it put in that's why it returned this search. So I think that is really great. You can scroll down, you'll get familiar with where various bits of information are on all of these. Is the information you're looking on the summary? Is it in the contacts? You've got the commodity codes that they have indicated. Are they hub certified? What are their different locations? So you will get familiar with this, but you do have this access right here in the system, as opposed to going out to public, but public will still be available. That'll be up to you. I'm going to skip over bid management now because that's going to be the bulk of things, but I do want to point out departments down here. So starting next week, we are going to, you will get an email that is going to have the new URL for the new site, and is going to invite you to come over and sign up and create a, make sure you're signing in for the first time with a username and password and get you into the new system. So if you have an existing account now, all that information is being brought over. So your existing IPS account is going to be brought over to this new eVP, and you will be invited to log in for the first time. Make sure you can get in. You'll need an NCID and a password. There's a few of you that maybe don't have an NCID, and we're trying to reach out and get you signed up for that, but you do need to have an NCID to get in the system, and that password. There will be no multi-factor authentication to get in, so you'll just use your NCID and your password to get in, but you will need to sign in for the first time. All of your accounts are going to be transferred over, so just be on the lookout for that email, and that's how you will get in. We're asking you then to also go in and look up your departments and make sure that you've been transferred over into the right group. So you'll click on departments, and this is part of that email, and it'll say find your department and make sure that the contacts are correct there. So, hey, Alamance Community College, we've asked you to sign in for the first time, and you're right there up at the top alphabetically for community colleges. So then you will click in, and you'll see we've got department numbers, and we've got your purchasing contact, support contact, and your purchasing officer contact, and we'll ask you to make sure that those are correct. And that's what part of that initial email will be. So that department management is down there, and just want to confirm that everything looks good when you switch over. So that is another part of it. And then solicitations. Let me just take you over here really quickly before we actually get in and show you how to do a solicitation. But you'll see here, under bid management, I'm going to solicitations first. You will default to my active solicitations. If I click the drop down, you can see others. If you go to active, that's everybody else in your organization. Inactive will be anything that's canceled. So it defaults to show you yours, and this is where we're going to live for most of the day. As well, there are separate fields for bids, tabulations, awards, and contract extensions. All of these bids, tabulations, and awards, they exist. And let me come over to this one here, which is what we're going to be in. You'll see you've got tabs on a specific solicitation for bids, tabulations. We don't have awards yet. We haven't awarded this one. But you can view these things via the solicitation they're connected to, or if you click on bids, you can see all of the solicitations that have an active bid already in them, if that's helpful to you. So we are going to spend most of the rest of the time in this solicitations tab. But before I go into, all right, let's click new and start a new one. Were there any questions on just the overall navigation of what the agency app looks like, Lauren?
We don't have any questions yet.
All right, perfect. Then let's get into actually how are we going to create a new solicitation, which is what you have come here to do. So I'm clicking on solicitations, and again, my active are showing up. So I've got a bunch here, and you can see status reason. We'll talk about that first. So there's going to be 4 statuses that you will see here, and there's only 3 here right now. We're going to show you the 4th one when I create it. Awarded, obviously, and these are, you can see here, it is organized these by the opening date, meaning when the bids responses were due from the vendors. And so I had a couple here dating back to the middle of June. These were previous demos that we did. And so we went through and we awarded them. So that means you got your responses back and you determined a winner and you said awarded, and that's posted publicly. The next one coming down, sort of we're working backwards, is pending selection. And that means, and this is going to be the one that I have today's date in it, this is what we're going to be working on. All right, we got our responses back, but we need to determine who got the award. Open means that the due date or the opening date is still in the future. So this one, that's the example of a paper version that's opening tomorrow, and this open one is open July 12th. So that means that people can still bid on them. You can still do addendums. The last version is going to be draft, which means that you are creating one and you haven't posted it yet. So I'm going to show you that. Now, just a note about the project titles. I put the dates in them. I put in parentheses the status, and that's just so that I know when I'm doing these demos where we are. So the system, the statuses will post there. You would probably never put pending selection in your title. You would just wait for the status to be there. So this is what we have here. And then I'm not going to click into one to show you all the details. I'm just going to show you, hey, we're going to start a new one, and you do that by clicking on new, which makes sense. And you will get used to kind of where you're going to find new and adding things and post as we go through these options. So the first thing we will do is, you'll see here there are a couple of required fields we have to fill out before we post this. So we're going to start and do that. And here you'll see my status reason is draft. So my project title, what I'm going to do for this one is just eVP janitorial solicitation demo, right? We're just going to use that as a demo. This product or project title and description, these are going to be public facing. This is going to actually show up in the public posting on kind of the header level when people are searching for things. So just be aware this is public facing, and it should describe what you want people to know about your bid before they actually click into the document. So eVP janitorial solicitation demo, I'll just say janitorial services for 3 years. And you could get much more detailed than that. That's just for today. Solicitation number. This is something you are going to come up with. If you have an existing solicitation format in your agency, continue to use that. It's up to you. Letters, numbers, however you need to do that. I'm just going to do 11223344. That's what mine is going to be now. Note, you're going to have a 2-digit suffix or prefix that will automatically populate on this once you click post. So you don't need to include that in there. If you know your agency suffix, what it used to be in IPS, it's coming over into eVP, and that will automatically populate once you press post. In our version, in the test environment, I don't have that, so you'll pretend that you will see that, but in real life, it will happen for you. Opening date, you will pick your opening date. So I'm going to say 3 weeks. That works for me right here. So we're going to say July 27th. It's from the dropdown. The default time is 2 p.m. That's a very common default time across the state, or a common opening time across the state. So that is the default, but if you do need to change it, you can change that to any time you prefer within 30-minute increments. I'm going to leave it up as 2 p.m. Come down here, we've got category, commodity family, and commodity code. This is, I think, a really nice upgrade for you as far as how you can figure out commodity codes to post here. I think just the interface is better than it was in IPS. So you can see the only required field is down here at the bottom. That would be the 6-digit commodity code. You can fill in if you want 2 digits, 4 digits, and 6 digits, but I'd suggest you would just click here. So you click in this bottom field, click on the magnifying glass. you get this option, and it's going to tell you alphabetically the first three, but you just click on advanced lookup. And now what you can do is you have the ability to search either via number, if you know the code number or the commodity code, and these match up with the UNSPSC codes that are in the bind tool, which I think is really nice. So if you know the commodity code via number, or if you just look up keywords, so I'm going to look up janitor again, and then you get the keyword search. If I had searched for 471218, that would have come up. So I want janitorial services. So I'm going to click this one right here, cleaning and janitorial services. That's the only one that's a service code. Service codes start with a 7, 8, or 9. That's perfect for me. Now, one thing about these codes, for the time being, there's only one code that you can attach to any solicitation. In the future, you may be able to attach multiple codes, but there's kind of a way to include multiple codes in here, and that is by adding a commodity code that ends in 00. So you see here for the goods code, so someone that's actually selling the cleaning equipment or the carts, they all start with 4712, and then the specific floor cleaning would be 16. And if you need waste containers, that's going to be 17. If you want to cover everything that starts with 4712, you would click on 471200, and that would send the notification out to vendors that have included 15, 18, 19, 16, or 17. So you kind of get a multiple commodity code by clicking something that is 00, which I think is going to be great. And in the future, you may be able to just select more than one code to broaden your notification. So what I'm going to do, though, for this one, janitorial services, pops up down there. I click done, and you see it auto-populates that. So we're done on the left side. Let's go to the right side. We've got site visit and special instructions, free text field, date dropdown. If you want to include some of that information that's important to vendors, do that. Not required, though. Type contract defaults to agency contract, but you have a couple options here. So if it's IT something, you can choose that, or agency specific term contract. That means it's over a period of time. That's that term contract means. This is maybe a 3-year deal for janitorial service. So I'm going to click on that. And then you have post solicitation. You've got two options here. I'm going to choose eBid. That means that I want to receive via this system the responses back as electronic attachments. You've also got paper. So if you do want to tell people in your solicitation document, hey, send me an envelope with your response in it by this date to this address, do that. Or if it's some other way that they are sending emails to you, if your agency permits that, paper kind of covers anything that is not through this system. And then vendors would just refer to your solicitation document for those instructions. So that will be up to you. But I have everything that I need here to, kind of post this. So I'm going to click save. And I could, if I had not filled something out, I get a red error message. Hey, you forgot to do this, which is great. Now I click save, and now I've got a documents tab. I also up here see post solicitation. It won't let me post this until I put my document on it. So let's go ahead and do that. So you see here, upload document. That would make sense. Let me click on upload document. And I've got, it'll take me to my computer. I've got this completed solicitation document, a PDF form there. I click on open, and it is processing here, and it says file successfully attached note. That looks great. Now I can't see where it is here. I want to double check this. So I'm going to go to my documents tab, and let's see it here. And there it is, solicitation documents. And so if I want to double check this is the correct one, if I click on this, I can download and do that. And now if I'm ready, I can click post. I will just mention, though, that if there is a bit of a delay for a document coming over, what you always want to do anytime you do something new in the system and you want to make sure that it works the way you want to, click this refresh button. I didn't have to this time. It showed up by the time I popped over there, but refresh will just kind of force the system to think a little bit harder. I will caution you as far as documents go currently, and this may be a little different in the future, but currently, if you attach a document, you cannot delete the document. There's nowhere here where I can delete this. So if you do, you might want to just double check, was that the right version? Make sure it's there. If you attach 2, you weren't patient enough, didn't click refresh, you realize you attached 2. There's no way to delete that. If you don't want that going out publicly, what you would have to do is you'd have to, either post it and cancel it or just start a brand new one. So just a word of caution, at least at go live, there is no way to delete a document. So just be careful with that. But now mine looks good. My posting here, and as you can see, it's in draft. As long as it's in draft, I can edit all these, but I'm ready to post it. I have my document. I click post solicitation. It says, are you sure? And I've looked at my document and I am sure. So I click OK. And then now this is in open. Open means people can bid on it until at least July 27th. So that is great. Now you see it's locked for editing. And if I go back to my solicitations tab, you'll see here, this is eVP Janitorial Services Demo. That's where it is right there. And it is open. It was posted today, 10:43, and its opening date is July 27th at 2 p.m. And now we are waiting for people to respond, which is great. So I'm going to show you here in a second what this looks like for the vendor's point of view after it has been posted. But before that, were there any questions on how to actually create one for the first time?
We just had one question that I just posted in the chat. Is there a way to delete a draft solicitation? At this time, unfortunately, there's not a way to delete solicitations that are in draft mode.
Nope. So you want to get it out of your My Active, you could post it really quickly and cancel it right away. And just to show you that, so My Active is what you're doing. Active would be, it includes your solicitations that are out there in draft, open, and pending and awarded, but for other people as well. And then inactive would be something that you posted and then canceled. So that would be there. But if it is your My Active, which is your default, if it is in draft, yeah, right now there is no way to delete a draft version of that. So thank you for that clarification, Lauren. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to show you what this looks like now that we posted it. You can see it's open here. Let's see what it looks like for vendors. So I have this tab open here of the public view, and it's brought me to the sign in page, but I'm just going to click on the home. And this is what the home page looks like of the public side of eVP. So you can see here, sign in. This would be for vendors. You will never sign in here, but a vendor can sign in and then have their account to register, and then there's some really nice benefits for them, and like it tracks their bid, so they have all the things that they bid on in one place, which is really nice. New people can come here, sign in, and then there's also, this is where you guys are over here on kind of the discover part. So if you want to look up solicitations or your public vendor search, do that there. It's up here too. So I'm going to click on solicitations. That's what we want to look up. And let me come back actually real quickly. I'm just going to grab this RFP number so that I can search for it quickly over here. But this is the solicitation. So it defaults by showing the kind of the oldest opening date from the start. That is kind of how it's defaulted. But there is, and you can search here, and that's where I am going to put in this RFP number to get exactly to where we want to go. But just so you're aware, this filters, and this is what we are directing vendors to do to find open ones. But I think it'll be helpful for you too. If you don't know a solicitation number or some part of the title, you click on filters, and you've got various here. So if you want to see, okay, what are all the things that are currently open, I can click on open. NCPE sourcing. So for you guys do not use the e-procurement sourcing. You'd click on no, and this would get you all the open solicitations out there that are created by state procurement users like yourself. But another nice thing is awarded. You can search awarded, and currently awarded solicitations disappear after 90 days after they were posted. Now, months and months and months later, you can click on award and see all the things that have been awarded over time. So various filters here. Hey, do I want to look up something from my community college or which date? Now, all of these various filters that we're used to searching for, but this is one filter here. So any open solicitations that were made by your agency, I click apply, and now you can see it's only open. And this is how things look here. That paper one that I posted, just to have an example of a paper one, that's out there because that opening day is tomorrow. So again, it's sorted by that. But this is, you'll see the solicitation number pops up here. This is an example of what it'll look like if you did with your agency prefix automatically showing up there, which is a good thing. So your title, description show up here, the opening date. There's no, you have to click into it to see the solicitation document. But let me find the one that we just did here, right? So RFP right there, and there it is. Now, one word of caution about when you post in the agency app and coming over to the public eVP. There is, at times, there's up to a 15-minute potential delay from it getting to the agency app into public. There's what's called a global caching situation that can go up to 15 minutes. So this one, we're much quicker than 15 minutes, but there's kind of this cycle that goes around that is sweeping the agency app for newly posted or new addendums, and it goes around at a max of every 15 minutes, and a lot of times it's quicker than that. So depending on where in that 15 minutes, it's going to kind of sweep up your new posting. It could take a minute or two for it to come over here. In this case, obviously much less than 15 minutes, and we're over here, and this is what it looks like. So let's look and see what this looks like from the inside. So I'm going to click on this solicitation number, and you will get the default information, the description, and then the attachment. So the vendor can come in, download your solicitation document, and start to see what they need to do. Now, you'll have up here, respond to solicitation. I am not a registered vendor that's signed in, so I can't click on this. But if the vendor was registered, then they click on it, then they have the ability to follow the steps to actually attach their documents back. And we'll show you what that looks like. So this is what it looks like on the public side, which is great. And as you'll see, we will build up more layers to this throughout the demonstration. So that's that. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to talk about addendums. But before that, just want to mention how this information gets transferred to vendors. Obviously, you can come and look at this at any point, but vendors are going to be receiving a nightly email that's a summary of everything that was either new solicitation posted or a solicitation that had an addendum in it that changed under the commodity codes that they are registered under. So if a vendor has registered under one of the janitorial services commodity codes, they would get an email later tonight saying, hey, this new opportunity is out there for you. And so they're now getting a nice summary email each evening that knocks down on the numbers of emails they receive, and then they'll have the listing of the solicitations that they can come back. Oh, this looks great. Yeah, I'd love doing work for this college or this local government. Let me look at it. And I'm showing you here what it looks like in eVP. Also note that this will automatically post to the Hub Opportunities site here. I'm not going to show you that, but that is a really nice thing. You don't need to do an additional manual upload of this information to Hub Opportunities. Those are now linked together, which is great. So I want to show you addendums. Before I go back to where we are here, were there any questions on the public side of this, Lauren?
We just have one question that was answered in the chat, but I'll talk about it as well. Can potential vendors search open bids without having a sign-in? The answer to that is yes, they can through the solicitations up on the top banner, can search for solicitations. They will need a login though to click the respond to solicitation button. There is no fee for them to have an account, an eVP account. So if there are vendors that you deal with that don't currently have login information, that will also, having an eVP account, which I believe Zach will touch on later, allows them to receive notifications, or maybe not, but that's how they receive notifications for opportunities to bid based on the goods and services that they provide. So I would encourage vendors that do business with the state to have an eVP account.
Yep, and they will So this is the paper one, and you can see that this is electronic bids. So you don't even need to, you can see everything you need to as a vendor, and you don't need to be logged in to respond to paper because you've given them other instructions. But for most of them, they would need to click the respond to solicitation button, be logged in, and obviously if they want to receive a purchase order, they need to have an account anyway. So, but yes, that is good clarification there. So, but these are public to anybody. I'm a supplier, or I'm a buyer, and I can come here and look up everything. All right, so now what we're going to do, we're going to talk about addendums, and real quick, just go over that. So I've got one posted here. I'm back on my demo, and you'll see now I have an addendum button here. So let me click on that. And when I click on that, I have the ability to create an addendum, and you can see, okay, what is happening here? Well, I need to do answers to vendor questions. You can see here, if I need to cancel it, you would do that via an addendum. I'm gonna flip this toggle to yes. I'm not gonna do that here. All the other stuff is if I needed to change anything, I can do that. So we can do that here. I'm not gonna do that. All I'm doing is telling you what this is. And now I click save. And now once I save this addendum, now you have the ability to upload a document, which I wanna do now. So I'll click upload document. And these are answers to the vendor Q&A. That is a common addendum that everyone has. All right, the file is there. Let's click OK. I'm going to, before I post it, want to make sure that my file is there, and I scroll down, no attachments. What happened? Well, let's click refresh. And now I scroll down, and there's my attachment. So that's an example of, okay, if there's a little delay, let's just be patient. Let's let refresh work for us, and we are good to go. So now that this is up there, I feel good about it. I made sure this was the right document. I click post addendum, click OK. And what's going to happen now, I'm not going to go back to the public side. We'll show you that in a bit, but this would post on the public side as having an addendum. And you can see now I have an addenda tab, and it's numbered right there. I have the document that showed up there. Also, if I go to my documents tab, that is right there. So your document's going to show up on your addenda and your documents tab. So that was a real quick thing. I'll just show you one more addendum that would be a common one. You click on it again, and this time we want to say extending bid due date. I'm not canceling it again, but we are going to give them more time for whatever reason. We're going to go to August 3rd now. We're going to keep 2 p.m. We just gave it an extra week, so I can do that, and I can click save. I don't need a document for this one, right? That's what's going to happen. Vendor's going to get a note that in their nightly email that, hey, there was an addendum there, and then they can come and look at it. Oh, the timing's great, perfect. So I don't need a document. I can just post this one, click post. And what you'll see here is now if I go to my addenda tab, it automatically numbered that. So I can do as many addenda as I need, and it will automatically number them. And you'll see posted. So if you do your addendum, but you don't click post, it's only going to live for you in your side of things. But I think that is nice. And we'll show you what it looks like later on when you do have an addendum that is what it looks like from the public side of things. So as you can see, I'm building out extra fields here. And that is now we are going to go into a time machine. We're going to say, hey, what happens when people respond? Let's take a look at that. So I'm going to come back to my solicitations tab, and we're going to work in this pending selection one. This is one that was due, and I have some responses in it. Actually, before I do that, though, let me show you what it looks like if something is open and you have a response in it. So this one's open, and someone's responded to it. If I click on it, you're not going to get a notification that someone responded, but you can always check back. And let's go to the bids tab and see what's happened here. And it says, hey, look, these two people bid, and this was a long time ago, June 14th. These two vendors bid. If I click on test vendor, so clicking the blue will take you to that vendor record over here. Double clicking anywhere else in the bids tab will open up the actual bid. So I'm floating my mouse there, double clicking. and it's going to take me back, and it is just going to say vendor bid response received. And if I come down, I can't see it, which is right? These are behind an envelope. You can't see it until it's pending selection, but you can come here, and this may be touch misleading. It's not going to guarantee that you actually have a document for them, but it's going to tell you anytime a vendor has actually logged in and clicked on that respond to posting button. So you may then go into your, when it's pending selection and this vendor's bid is actually not there, it means they kind of started the process but didn't finish it. But at least you get a little bit of an idea of who's been interested in what you put out there. So I'm going to go back to my solicitations, and we're going to go to one where we can see these. So let's click on pending selection, this one right here for today. And what I'm going to do is actually just show you how this works. If I go to my my recent here, so in pending selection, I'm going to pin this. And now if we need to go back to this, it is in my pinned for that. But we are on it right now. And you can see here now, now that it is in pending selection, meaning I can start to look at their responses and evaluate them. I also have a tabulations account, because then after we look at these, we are going to have to put together our tabulations. But if I go to bids now, you'll see here now I have 2 bids. And if I click on one of these, test vendor 102, double click, you'll see here, this is the solicitation to link to, and this is what it's going to look like down below when someone's responded with a bid. The main thing is this attachment, vendor response number 1. So they will attach something back in a PDF, or there are other various ones. PDF is going to be the most common. And the size limit is now 125 meg, which is really big and much bigger than the current version in NC bids. So that's going to be really good. They can also attach multiple attachments. So if they can put up however many 125 megabyte files they want, they can put them there. They can also put a little note in here. Now this one, it just says web, meaning they post it from the web. If there was a note from them, it would be, the text would be right in here. But the main thing is their response document. Download it, look at it, talk to whoever you need to talk to kind of figure out, okay, yeah, this looks like a good response, who's going to win it. But you've got that for this vendor. And if I go back one more, that was this vendor down here, and test vendor 100. You scroll down and they've got vendor response number 2. So there would be, I named these vendor response 1 and 2. Theirs would be, specific to however they retitled your documents, but that's there. Now, let me go back real quick and show you something neat that I think is a really nice upgrade from what you currently have. Say there's 15 vendors that responded, and some of them with multiple documents. That's a lot of documents to download individually. Look at this, download zip. I'm going to click on download zip, and it's downloading. Please wait. Make sure you have pop-up blockers off. The first time I did this, I was like, this doesn't even work. I had a pop-up blocker on. That's why it wasn't working, but it's taking its time, and I get this zip file here that's named with the RFP number. And if I click open file, you'll see here I have vendor response number 1 and vendor response number 2. If there were 50 documents in here based on all of the solicitation return, you'd get all of them in there. So that's a really nice thing. And then you could do with these what you need to do, but you can download them all at once, which I think is a really nice thing. So we're going to say that test vendor 100 bids 70,000 and test vendor 102 bids 75,000. So we've got to put our tabulations in, which would be the next step. But before we do that, were there any questions on how to look up bids after we went in this time machine? Take that silence as a no, or they're very busy typing back to you. So we can come back if there were questions on bids. We can address those in tabulations, but let me just go into tabulations and show you what that's like, right? So your process, you put this out there, you do your addendums, you get the information back, you decide, but one of the first things you need to do is just say, okay, who participated, right? That's that first preliminary bid tabulation. You don't need pricing in there. You just need to say, vendors need to know who participated. And so I'm going to go to my tabulations tab. And you'll see here, you should probably get used to this. All right, I'm going to click on the plus new button for new tabulation, and we're going to put this out there. So you will see here that this is post vendor totals only is the default, and it's probably until you get in the system, you wouldn't have known that this is a drop down, but it is. So it's all the way over there. The default is post vendor totals. That's what we're going to show you. That's what we think is probably the best way to do this. There is another way though, drop down, and it is post all bid items. So if you have to say, say you got 3 line items bids and you got, 5 vendors. So that would be your essentially, if you needed to post all 15 results of those. So vendor A bid X on line 1, vendor A bid X on line 2, vendor A bid X on line 3, and then you have vendor B bid Y on line 1, all the way down, all those different combinations. There is a way to do that if you need to do that, and we've got job aids that cover that. But we think that if you just need to say the total price for vendor A's bid was 70,000 and the total price for vendors B bid was 75,000, this is going to work. And we'll show you that the preliminary bid, you don't even need your pricing total. So I'm going to leave this as this, and I'm going to come down here in new tabulation. And all you're going to do is you're going to go to the vendor and you're going to find that vendor. So let me go to advanced lookup, and I'm going to say, let's see, hope test vendor. All right, test vendor 100. That was one of our vendors, right? So I'm going to click next to them, and I'm going to click done. And there's all these other fields. Okay, was this a partial bid? Was this, were they requesting price match? Total price. I'm not going to do it now. You can put all this stuff in if you want to, and you can do comments. Just note that comments are public. Those aren't private. That will actually post with that. But this is all I needed to do. I just needed to say that they participated, so I'm going to click save. I'll click save and close, actually. And so now I'm back there, and I've got one bid tabulation with no price. We're good to go. Let's do another one because we had test vendor 102 was the other vendor. So I'm going to click here, advanced lookup, and let's click on test vendor 102. Click next to them, click done, and I'm just going to click save and close. So I have 2 responses. If you had 10, you'd do 10. And you'd put it out there. There's no price. It's my preliminary bid tabulation. Look what we have here, post tabulation. We're getting used to looking up there for the posting. And I'm going to click post tabulation. I'm going to confirm that. You'll see now I have an awards thing because now I can award because there's a tabulation. I'm not going to go to the public site, but within 15 minutes, my solicitation posting would be updated that we have this vendor tabulation out there. It would just tell 2 vendors, no price. That's great. So now, though, we get to the point where, we're ready to award, but we do need to put up a pricing with this. So what I'm going to do, instead of creating a new tabulation that's going to include pricing, you just come and you edit your current one. So we're going to say that test vendor 100 bid $70,000. So I come click the radio button next to it, and I get this little edit pencil. I click on edit. Now we come down here, total price 70000. And save and close. I could have put anything else in there. I needed to do that. And now you have a total price. And 102 hit 75,000. So I click next to it, click my pencil, $75,000 for 3 years, and save and close. And now I've updated that. Now, what you will see here, there is no post that will automatically update it. So within 15 minutes, and prices will show up, and after we do our award, we will show you what all that looks like. But that is a bid tabulator. So we opened our bids. We couldn't see them until it was pending selection. Then we could see them. Then we evaluated them. Then we posted it without a price. Now we posted it with a price, and everything is good to go. So before I show you the last thing of doing an award, any questions on either bids or tabulations?
There are no questions at this time.
All right. Folks are following along. So now we're going to go ahead and do our awards. So let's click from tabulations over to awards. And you probably guessed it. You click on new award, which is great. So let me click on new award. This is a really easy process here. New award. And, there's 4 or 3 required fields that I have to do. So first is vendor. Now, the nice thing about this is if I click on the magnifying glass, the options are only the people I have tabulations for. I can't award something to someone I didn't have a tabulation for. So that's perfect. So remember, test vendor 100 was 70,000. They're the low bid. Everything else checked out. They seem like good people, so we're going to award it to them. If I wanted to put in other information like what city or county this is in, I could do that, but not required. There's reciprocal and price match. You can flip those and you get some other options there that would make sense to you if that was applicable in this award. But I do need to, the only other things I need to do is the amount and the date. So $70,000, it matches up with my tabulation. And then the date awarded is today, right? So let's just do 7/6. And then now that this is good to go, I'm going to click save. And I'll click save and close. Sometimes it's helpful to click save. If you have to add other things like a document, save is great. If you're ready to post it, save and close kind of brings you back to your tab. And now this award is out there. If it looks good for me, we want to make this official. I'm going to click post award. We're good to go. And now this award is posted. It is out there and all of that. So we just went through the whole process of going back to my solicitations. So this one now, it was pending, now it's awarded, that looks good. But we started with creating one, it was in draft, then we posted it was in open, then we got everything back and we did our addendums and we did our tabulations and award, and we got it to an awarded status, which is fantastic. There's a lot of work that you guys go into that as far as not even captured in here, just like reading the bid documentation, but the actual process is pretty easy and the flow is good. And this is what it's going to look like. Let me grab this real quick. Where are we here? So I can come back over here in my solicitation search. And I'm just going to put this right there. I could search by demo if that's in the title, and that would bring me probably there. But I have the number, which is great. And look at that. We got a good cycle on that global caching situation. It is already awarded. So if I click on it, we just want to take you through. So, hey, I can't even if I'm logged in, can't even bid on this anymore. That's great. But this is all the information that we had. And we got the attachments. It was our completed solicitation document. There's our answers to questions. Here's our addenda. This is how they showed up. We put our questions there. We extended our due dates. Here's our tabulations. This time, this is what we just did. Now, if a vendor came here before we put in the price, it would just say vendor 100 and vendor 102. And then the awards. We awarded this to test vendor 100, and that matches up with that price there. If you click on this, and this is visible to anybody, don't need to be logged in, click view details. And had I said, yes, this was a price match, or had I put in any comments, that would be there, but you get the basic information there. So, this lives on too in perpetuity. You can search for this 2 years later by the RFP number, by, whatever's in the title, by who put it out there, and you have this information, which I think is great. So that is kind of start to finish what it looks like on all ends. And what is going to happen next is Zach's going to tell you about contract extensions. But before we transition it over to Zach, who's going to take over the screen, any wrap up questions here on the awards or anything overall in the process?
There's just one question I'm working on answering and providing the link now. Can you enter line item pricing if needed rather than the total amount? The answer to that is yes, there is a way to enter line item pricing. We are not going to go into detail in this webinar for that, but I am going to provide a link in the chat to the job aid that will give you detailed instructions on how to do line item pricing.
Yep, a little more involved, obviously, but it totally works well, and we just wanted to show you the easiest way, and yep, the job aids cover that. So about to switch it over to Zach, but just before we talk about contract extensions, just want to kind of define what we are doing here with that. So this system is not negotiating a contract extension. It's posting the announcement of an already approved, either by PNC or DIT, contract extension, and also with the vendor. The vendor has to agree that, okay, yeah, we will extend this. So, and just want to make sure there's a difference between a contract renewal, which was something that was already negotiated in the solicitation, and then at that point, then you got to make sure that you and the vendor, yep, let's activate that renewal. Contract extension is something that was not initially planned. It's the contract is going to run out. You didn't put it out for bid again for whatever reason. You say, hey, we need an emergency month-long extension of this, and then you'll get it out for bid. You deal with that offline, and then once that is agreed upon, then you come in to the system and you're going to say, okay, yeah, we extended this contract. So just be aware that that is what Zach is going to show you how that happened. All the negotiations, approvals have already happened. We just need to post notification of that. So Zach, if you don't mind taking it away, we appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for that intro, Jeff. So as Jeff said, we're going to go through basically posting a contract extension. So to do so, we're going to start in the back end of eVP. So as you can see, I'm kind of on that home screen or dashboard screen that Jeff showed you earlier during his demos. And what we're going to want to do is on this left-hand side on this navigation panel, we're going to want to select the contract extensions option. And then it's going to show you all the active contract extensions for your entity. And what we're going to do is we're going to hit this plus new sign from this command bar up top here. And now we're in a contract extension. So we're going to start filling out some of this information. Which actually, I think my screen might not have fully shared. So let me double check that. There we go. So sorry, just to repeat the steps to kind of get to that screen from the home screen or from the dashboard screen, we're going to go ahead and click on contract extensions in our bid management section down here on the left-hand side. And then we're going to click on this new button from the command bar. And then now we're going to start filling out the some information about our contract extension. So if this contract extension is for a solicitation that was processed in the eVP system, you could actually use the solicitation number field in this, to search for that solicitation number and kind of link them two together. If it was not, then you can use this external solicitation ID field to type in a solicitation ID. So our expectation is kind of when you guys first get started doing these, that for the most part, you'll be using the external solicitation ID, because most likely the first ones that you'll have to extend out will be solicitations that were, created prior to this system. So for this example, I'm going to go ahead and type in an external solicitation ID real quick. And then next it's going to ask us for a description. So again, going to type that in. So I'm going to say this contract extension is for janitorial services. And then next I'm going to type in the original contract amount, which for this one I'm going to say is $75,000. And for original start date, if you actually click into the field, you have the option of using this date picker to select the date, or you can actually just go ahead and type it in. So I'm going to say original start date was 8/1/2020. And the original end date is 8/1/2023. So again, I could use the date picker, or I could just go ahead and type the date in. Then I'm going to say the extension amount was $25,000. And this is our first extension, so extension number is going to be 1. And then for our extension end date, we're going to say we're going to extend this out for 1 additional year, so 8/1/2024. I'm going to list my name as the contract manager. And then for our explanation, I'm just going to say we're extending for 1 more year. And then as the contract manager, I'm going to type in my email address here. And then now that I've filled out all my required fields, I can just take a second look through them to make sure that they have the values that I want. And once I confirm that they do, I can come up here to this command bar again, and I can hit this save option. And then once I do that, you'll notice that I now have a post contract extension button. I don't actually want to click that at this point yet because I haven't actually selected an awarded vendor for this contract extension. So down here in this awarded vendor section, I'm going to click this add existing vendor button. And then it's going to pull up this little search. So I'm just going to do a quick search for janitorial. And I'm actually looking for janitorial consultants. So I can select their name and then click this blue add button. may take a couple of seconds, but then you'll notice that their information populates in our awarded vendors section. If this contract extension had multiple awarded vendors, we could continue to click the add existing vendor and select additional vendors for this one. Or if you accidentally selected the incorrect vendor, you can actually click the next to the vendor and then select the remove button. But for this example, I'm going to say, hey, we're only awarding this out to one vendor, and I have the correct awarded vendor on here. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and click this post contract extension button. And then you'll notice we get this confirmation message, and essentially it's letting us know that, hey, once we click OK on this pop-out box, that this one will become visible to vendors on the portal. So next I am going to click OK. And then I'm actually going to go to the public facing side of the portal, and I'm going to do a quick search for this contract extension. So to get to our public contract extension search from our landing page or from our home page of the public facing portal, we're going to go ahead and select the contract extensions option from this top menu. And then I'm going to go ahead and type that RFP number that I grabbed into my search box here and hit this search button. Just like the solicitations, though, there is a global caching situation with contract extensions. So it's possible that when I click this search button that my contract extension won't show up. And if that happens, that's not, it's not like an error or anything like that. It just might be because of that 15-minute global caching situation. But once I did click to the search button, you'll notice that my contract extension shows up, and it shows up with the details that I populated while creating the contract extension. And if I actually want more details, like, for example, which vendor was this contract extension awarded out to, I can click this drop-down arrow, and then I can select awarded vendors. And then it'll give me actually more information than just the award vendors. It'll actually give me the contact manager, their email, the explanation, and the awarded vendors as well. So that covers contract extension notifications in the eVP system. Lauren, were there any questions that we wanted to cover before you moved on to our next section?
There are currently no questions, Zach.
Perfect. So we'll go ahead and move on to our next section. Our next section is going to cover our public vendor search. So I'm going to stay on the public facing side, and you'll notice that up top here I have this vendors option, but also that I actually do have this sign in option as well. So that indicates that I'm not currently signed in as a vendor. So this is information that anybody who visits the site would be able to do. They don't need to log in to actually see either the contract extensions or the public vendor search. But I'm going to go ahead and click on this vendors option to pull up our public vendor search. You'll notice that once this page loads that it is our vendor search page, and that we have these initial 6 filters for searching for vendors. However, we can click this blue triangle next to advanced search. And once we do that, you'll notice that we have a bunch of additional filters that populated. And they're kind of grouped based off of various sections. So for instance, our first section is NCE procurement. So then we have a bunch of filters relating to NCE procurement status, such as registration status, IRS verification status, registration date from and to, so you can kind of pick out a specific period that a vendor was registered. Moving on, we have our hub and NCSPE section. So this is just some supplemental filters that we can use to search for specific things such as the hub certification category, so on and so forth. Next, we have our contractor services section. So this section contains some filters relating to various contractor services that vendors can indicate while registering their account or while updating their account, such as, if they have a construction license, if they have various limitations, what type of license classifications they currently have. Next, we have a contact and location section. So you can search here based off of various contact or location filters, such as contact last name, contact email, so on and so forth. And then finally, we have our commodity and construction code sections, which allow you to search based off of various commodity or construction codes. So the first search that I want to run is I'm actually going to run a search for an e-procurement vendor, so a vendor who is currently active for NCE procurement. And then I actually want to search based off of a specific commodity code. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click this Add Commodity Codes button. Then you'll notice that this pop-up screen pops up. And I think this is actually one of the biggest improvements to our public vendor search, because currently in the public vendor search, To kind of see all the various commodity codes, you have to expand all their different categories, and then you'll be able to see them. But now we have this awesome pop-up, and you'll notice we actually have a search bar. But if we actually really wanted to, we could just scroll through here and click through all these pages to see all the commodity codes. We don't need to expand anything. We just click that button and it pulls the search up. But in this instance, I'm searching for janitorial stuff. So I'm going to just search by janitor. And then boom, in my search results, you'll notice I have a bunch of commodity codes that have to do with the word janitor. And for my specific example, I'm looking for cleaning and janitorial services. So you'll notice as I scroll through, I can find that code. And I can click the checkbox. And if I accidentally, selected too many codes or, the wrong code, I can actually uncheck the box right here, or I can click this little X button to get rid of it. And then once I'm satisfied with the code that I've selected or codes I've selected, I can hit this blue add button. And then you'll see the commodity code listed in this section here. And if at this point I realize, hey, you know what, I don't actually want to include a specific commodity, like this commodity code that I've already selected in my search, you can hit the drop-down arrow next to the said commodity code and then select the remove option to remove it from your selected codes. But then once you've filled out some filters, you can go ahead and hit this blue search button, which is what I'm going to do. So again, I'm searching for active NC procurement vendors who are currently registered for this commodity code, which is 761100. And once I hit this blue search button, it's going to go ahead and get those results, and then eventually our search results page will load, which depending on your search complexity and how many search results there are may take a minute or two. But then once your search results loads, in the upper left-hand corner, you can see the number of records or the number of vendors that returned with your search. And then you can also see, various information about these vendors listed in your search results. But if you want additional information about a specific vendor, you can actually click on that name of the vendor. So in this example, I'll go ahead and click on Three Brothers Services, LLC. And then I have all these tabs on the left-hand side. So let's say, hey, I want to see what other commodity codes this vendor is registered under. I can click on the commodity codes tab. And then I can see all the various codes that the vendor has registered under. And I can actually click through these pages to see them. And then let's say, hey, we actually want some, contact information for this vendor. I can click on this contacts tab, and it will list all the various contacts that the vendor has registered on their account, as well as their phone numbers and email addresses. So let's run real quick one more search just to kind of give you guys another search example here. So we're back on our public vendor search page, and this time we're going to search for a vendor who's Hub certified. And then if we scroll down to our construction code section, we're going to search for a vendor who is registered under a specific construction code. So just like our commodity codes, once we click the button, it'll pull up a list of all of our codes, and we can either look through these codes and page through them, or we can use the search button up top here to search for the specific construction code. However, I actually see the code that I want right in this initial first page, so I'm going to check the box next to it and then hit the blue add button. And then I'm going to hit this blue search button in the bottom left-hand corner of the page. And just like our previous search, you can see the total number of vendors or records that returns up here in the upper left-hand corner. And we also have an export to Excel button. So if you wanted to, you could click this button right here, and then the system would export these search results into an Excel document that you can then use for various purposes. And just like with our other example, if you wanted to, you could click on a specific vendor's name to view additional information about that vendor account. That kind of concludes our demo on the public vendor search. So Lauren, were there any questions before we wanted to move on to our last section of the day? Alrighty, I'll take the silence as no. So our last section may not be applicable to everybody who's currently attending, but our last section is going over the Hub Statistics reporting features in the electronic vendor portal. So I'm going to go back to the electronic vendor portal backend. And if you'll notice, as I scroll down, I have this Hub Management section, specifically Hub Statistics. So I'm going to go ahead and click on Hub Statistics. And then the system will create a Hub Statistics record for you on the first day of the quarter for the previous quarter. So what you do after clicking on Hub Statistics is find the specific quarter that you're looking for, and then double click on that record. And then it will pull up the record for you, and the fiscal year and the quarter will be pre-populated. And then depending on if your NC reports your data to the Hub spending report system, then the rest of the fields may be updated as well. If it doesn't, then you'll just have to update them yourselves. And you'll notice that we also have a bunch of fields that have these little lock symbols next to them. What that means is that these fields aren't actually editable by you by clicking into them, and that they'll actually update as needed as you kind of fill out the rest of the form. So there are 3 sections essentially to this Hub Statistics report. There's the term contract section, which is this first one right here, the commodity purchases, which is the second one, and then the service purchases. And then each section has the second column over here on the right-hand side, and you'll notice that all these fields actually have that little lock symbol next to them. So they won't actually be, you won't actually be able to click into them and edit them. But let's go ahead and just start filling out some data for here. So for term contract purchases, Hub and non-Hub. So this is the total amount that you guys purchased for this quarter, including both on contract purchases, including both Hub and non-Hub vendors or purchases. So once you populate your term contract purchases, you then populate any of these categories that you made contract purchases to. So for this example, let me say we did 50,000 Asian American, 20,000 Black, and we did 5,000 in our female category. So you'll notice that these lock symbols fields that they don't actually immediately update. To get them to update, you'd actually have to click this save button up top. But once you do click the save button, you'll notice that these fields, that any locked field that has something to calculate will calculate it, and you can kind of keep moving on. So let's move on to our commodity purchases. So again, just like our previous section, I'm going to go ahead and put our total commodity purchases, both Hub and non-Hub purchases in here. So I'm going to say we did 500,000, and then this time we did 75,000 in our Black category, and 50,000 in the American Indian category. And then we're going to hit save again just to kind of get some of these fields to auto-populate, which you'll notice that they do so once I hit save. And then I'll move on to this last section, which is the services purchases section. So for this one, I'm going to say, hey, we did $250,000 of total service purchases, both Hub and non-Hub. And we did 25,000 Asian American, 10,000 female, and 10,000 disabled owned. So again, I'm going to click this save button, and then we'll notice that our relevant lock fields will update. And then if we scroll to the top, we can kind of just scroll back through one more time just to double check that we input everything correctly. And then once that we've confirmed that we've done so, we can actually come up top here and we can hit this approve button. And then we'll notice that our status reason will update and our approved by and approved on fields will also update. So I'm going to go ahead and hit approve now. And you'll notice that our status reason changed from pending to submitted, and our approved by and approved on updated to the user that approved the report and the date and time that it was approved. So that ends our Hub Statistics demo. Lauren, were there any questions before we throw it back to Jeff for some wrap up and additional steps?
We have one question. I need to confirm the answer to that. So we'll take that offline and provide the answer as part of our Q&A recap, but no other questions.
All right. Well, thank you, Lauren, and thank you, Zach. That was great. Next steps. Hey, Monday, system goes live. You guys will get an email asking you to log in, confirming some things. Make sure you have an NCID. If not, the direction is to talk to your NCID administrators to get involved, and we're trying to do some proactive outreach there, but you should be able to get in with your NCID password, and everything will be good to go going forward. So we appreciate everybody's time today. Thank you so much, and thank you for everything, and good luck starting next week with the new system. We're excited for us and for you and for the vendors. So much more is going to be in the same place. You've got great visibility of your entity, and we're going to be here to help you. So again, that help desk, get in touch with the help desk. If you are having any specific issues with things starting on Monday and beyond, as we've always been a support for a lot of things, we're going to be more of a support now for you with this. Job aids, help desk, videos, everything. But we go live on Monday, which is going to be great. So thank you guys so much. Hope you have a good rest of your day, good weekend, and appreciate all of your attendance and questions today. So thank you guys very, very much.